Well, as you all are taking your places, I'll promptly start this session. This one is on Agentic AI in Fintech, autonomous workflows for risk, compliance, and ops. And we have an eminent and stellar panel today with us. Please join me in welcoming them with a thunderous round of applause. Our moderator, Mr. Dhananjay Singh, Deputy Chief Engineering Delivery, National Payments Corporation of India. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We extend a warm welcome to Mr. Deepak Dastrala, CTO, Intellect Design Arena. Big round of applause, please. A very warm welcome to Ms. Neha Gupta Mahatme, Director, Amazon Pay. Warm welcome to Mr. Rupesh Kumar, Co-founder and CTO, OneCard. Everyone, let's have some more energy in the room, please. And we'd like to welcome Ms. Usha Seetharaman, Director, Engineering, Google Pay India. Big round of applause, please. All right, so with that, we start our discussion, Agentic AI in Fintech. I hand over to Mr. Dhananjay Singh.
Thank you. I hope I am audible till last row. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see. I think I was getting a feeling that we have come to watch some movie. This is the setup which we used to have in past in our old days of balcony seats. Welcome and thanks for coming during the lunch time. So today's session is more about Agentic AI in Fintech. And when you talk about Agentic AI, it has become more of a FOMO, right? If you don't talk about it or if you don't do anything about Agentic AI. So today we are going to cover about the risk, compliance, and the operations aspects of Agentic AI, because there is always a fear, right? If you don't do it, or if you do it, what are the risks, what are the compliance, and when it comes to the audit, what are the issues you might end up, because the traceability and the availability and the reliability on the agent's task which you are doing. And we have all seen how the AI has evolved, all the automation has evolved. These terms are always loosely used across the industry, where somebody talks about automation, somebody talks about the chatbot, somebody talks about automating some task, right? So which is the agentic AI? So we have seen the predictive analytics, we have seen the automation, we have seen some of the banks building the chatbots, right? But today we are going to cover about the next leap, which is agentic AI in fintech. So we have our esteemed panelists, and I think it's one of the best mix we can have. I'll start from there. So we have Usha. Usha heads the engineering team at Google Pay across India. And when it comes to agentic AI automation or even the SRE, I'm a big fan of SRE practice, and obviously the SRE term came from Google, and thanks for that. So we'll hear from Usha from the agentic AI point of view, from the Google Pay, what they're doing. We have Rupesh. Rupesh have spent good amount of time at ICICI Bank, I think from almost 2004 to 2016, somewhere or 19. Then he founded OneCard. He is co-founder and CTO at OneCard, based out of Pune. We have Neha, a good combination, and good to see Google and Amazon sitting together. And so she heads the business at Amazon Pay from the customer point of view. Good to have that perspective from the customer experience and the agentic AI point of view. And we have Deepak, and Deepak, good to see you here. Deepak is CTO at Intellect Arena, where he works with all major banks and the RBI regulators, and also they provide the entire tech solutions to the regulators. With that, I welcome everyone, and thanks everyone. We'll start with that. A warm welcome to the esteemed panelists. Thank you. Okay. So I'll start with you, Deepak, while you work with large banks and regulators, right? So when you see the old style automation, the task-based automation, RPA, which you used to call, right, versus the agentic AI, when you build the enterprise-grade system, what are the things which you think entire banking system or fintechs or the regulator should be thinking about? How do you differentiate that?
I think we reached a very interesting inflection point where everything can be reset, because whatever that happened so far, whether it's a process workflows, whether you have approached an RPA based or automation based or even intelligent automation based, the truth is it's a very rule based approach where things are predictable, things are very linear in nature, kind of a thing. And with agentic, the fundamental difference is It is kind of a more of a, you can think about a, what kind of a work which probably what the humans are very good at. Basically, we are good at kind of our ability to think, our ability to act, and deal with the unpredictability and all. Because if you look into the banking and financial systems, a lot of innovation happened with internet on the front office side or the distribution side. Not much happened on the back office and middle office because of the pure complexity that is required, the human-like intelligence. So you can think with an agentic, you can probably approach as a more goal-based, so that you can deal with an exceptions, you can deal with things which probably only the humans can understand and act, kind of a thing. And what also happened because of the way the digital system, digital ecosystem has evolved, lot of that is actually this thinking systems can access through the tools, through the APIs and all. So how you can reason, how you can think, how you can act was a major differentiation. And in this, if you take a kind of a more of a flows, you can think the role of an agent as a intelligence coordinators and all, because at every touch point, how you deal with variations, you need an ability to think and act and then go back and forth. And that's where the role of an agent is a more of a coordinated intelligence, which can think and act on the go, but within the guardrails of an ecosystems, within the bringing the unified knowledge of an ecosystem, so that, because reason is earlier it's a more what you can program is what you can deal with a more of a RPR rule based system. But goal is, when you say that you need to have an understanding about an ecosystem, you need to have a kind of a whole knowledge layer in place to do that. So at a very high level, you can think about the differentiation is a rule-based approach versus goal-based approach, where probably the humans are very good at.
So when it comes to autonomous, right? So people are worried about when the autonomous cars are coming, right? These autonomous agents are coming in. So it's having this understanding of even the risk and the fear of non-human aspect. Anything from that point of view you would like to add?
Sure. I think this is where, right, it will be more of an evolution rather than just a revolution kind of a thing. At least what we see how the people are approaching this is the whole guardrails is kind of an embedded at in every touch point, so that the people knows exactly what kind of the reasoning went behind, what are the data sources, what are the lineages, what are the traces, everything is available, so that the role of this particular agents is not to make a decisions, but actually to give the recommendations. And typical approach is a more of a threshold kind of a thing. You'll put it thresholds, you'll benchmark and see what kind of things which human can actually, which the agents can take, and how do you have the risk levels captured, and how probably from medium risk you can probably pass it to the agent can pass with a recommendation to the human, high risk purely the human. So how it's evolving is where the human should be in loop, where the AI should be in loop, and what kind of a controls. With all these things, what is still very important when someone is reimagining this whole thing is you should have a way to kill the process when it's required.
Right.
It can't be completely autonomous, and that's where one has to go to the kind of a first principle thinking and reimagine the whole thing with what kind of a controls that you need to have in place, and how probably, if you can call it as a kill switch, where you should put in place.
Thanks, Deepak. So Neha, while coming to Amazon Pay, right, and being big fan or one of the biggest users, right? So when it comes to agentic AI, right? So most of the organization, if you see, some of them are in POC mode on the agentic side, not having courage to put things on the extreme enterprise grade system, right? Most of them are in the POC mode or non-critical systems, right? Rather than completely exposing to the customer side, right? And you coming from the business side, how do you see from the Amazon Pay down the line 3 to 5 years, how it will evolve from POC mode to the complete enterprise grade mode?
Yeah, I think it's also taking the conversation forward from, I think, what Deepak said. So as you rightly said, I think, Dhananjay, I think the current stage is really a lot of POC and experimentation mode. And I think from POC to what will kind of really help scale to become truly autonomous, I think is a leap of faith on POC to like proof of trust. I think that's really the journey that needs to kind of really, what the ecosystem has to kind of really built. And I feel there are three stages in this. There is the stage which is where we are currently, wherein very active POCs, experimentations are kind of going in. It'll kind of, in my opinion, I think in a 12 to 18 month timeline or maybe faster, I think we'll get to a stage wherein production grade deployments in very tightly controlled environment, as I think Deepak was talking about, a lot of guardrails at various step, could be agentic, could be human-led, will kind of really come into play. And I think over a 3 to 5 year horizon is when maybe mainstream deployments will happen. But I think the 2-3 aspects that need to kind of really go alongside is very strong, I think, enabling frameworks on how autonomous things work, because financial systems are also are not something that you can kind of really experiment with in that sense, because of 3-4 reasons, like the governance super important, auditability, accountability, some of those aspects need to be solved. And I feel like as I think some of these experiments reach mainstream, how the frameworks will kind of really come in, which helps build trust, accountability, and auditability, I think needs to happen, in my opinion. So that's really the journey we also see within Amazon. That I think we are definitely kind of at a stage when in lots of experimentation is kind of really what's happening.
In fact, Amazon chatbot is quite useful,
yeah.
right? In fact, sometimes you need the human intervention just to get the refund, otherwise it's very seamless, right? So I think anything else which you think from the Amazon point of view?
I think an Amazon point of view, I think like from areas where we are experimenting, because that's the stage I think we are in, is I think 3 dimensions, purely from a payments and financial systems perspective. I think the one is like just how do we address like payment failures really well? Like in specifically, I think in emerging locales, it's a big concern, like whether you talk about LATAM or in India, wherein payment success rate still is a challenge in terms of like, imagine Agentic AI helps identify why the payment failed, and Agentic AI is able to transparently communicate to customers like what happened, and if the regulations or the framework permits, then retries or reattempts the transaction. I think some of those are areas that we are kind of evaluating. From a back-end point of view, I think settlement assistant, I think we do settlements across multiple systems, and how can that entire aspect can be kind of automated through Agentic AI, such that I think things which takes longer period of time to kind of really like understand on why there are gaps, I think we can kind of really turn that around. I think we're making really good progress in the second domain, which is much more back-end in terms of the speed to which we can kind of act. And that also helps, I think, improve the merchant success rate quite a bit, because you understand what's failed and what needs to kind of get done. And I think the third dimension is fraud and risk management. I think that's another one. Specifically globally, there are a lot of countries wherein there is no MFA.
So you have your internal fraud risk management from
we do.
the AI automation point of view?
We have very dedicated teams, and like say in like a US wherein there is no multi-factor authentication, I think it's super important that rather being reactive, you need to be proactive to save customers and like ensure that the transactions are protected. So that's the third dimension around which we are kind of doing. And the fourth is, I think, on the customer service side. I think, again, that's another area. A lot of deep dive takes a lot of time right now, because it's spread across, the information is spread across multiple systems. So how can Agentic AI really help overcome some of those challenges and kind of really very quickly help you get to 2-3 root causes, and then of course a human intervention could kind of really take it to the end stage. So these are the 3-4 areas, Dhananjay, that I would kind of really talk
Thanks,
about.
Neha. So Rupesh, I think you coming from the hardcore banking of ICICI and then moving to the one card and now completely fintech side, and fintech completely strive upon the speed and agility, right? And that's where I think the efficiency and everything comes into picture, right? So from your point of view, if you'd like to add something on which are the use cases you see from the one card point of view, or any from the industry side, Agentic AI can help, or you are already doing something on that side?
As you said, we have a little more room to experiment compared to my panelists here, and a little more room to make mistakes. So before I go into the use cases, actually, it took me some time to understand what is Agentic AI. Just for the benefit of everybody here, the term gets thrown around a lot, and even for a technical person like me, it took some time to understand exactly what is an AI agent. So I'll just rewind a little bit and talk about the 5 things which make up an AI agent. So a AI agent consists of prompts. These are instructions that you give to the LLM. It consists of tools that you provide to the LLM, which the LLM can use autonomously. For example, calling APIs or calling MCP servers. You don't need to program it, it can call it itself, right? Then there is what is called memory. So it is the context of the customer or a document that you can pass to the agent. And finally, there's something called evals. Evals are actually tests that you can run to figure out whether the agent is doing its job. And then around all these is what is called an orchestrator, which sort of runs the entire workflow on what the agent is supposed to do. So if you think of it from a fintech perspective or financial services perspective, the product in financial services is actually not a physical product, right? It's a process. The process is the product itself. So it sort of maps really nicely to financial services because all you're doing is, a human is doing is actually orchestrating processes. So it maps really nicely to financial services. And what we are seeing is actually 4 broad areas where we have started making some investments, and some of it is in production also. One of it is operational efficiency. So for example, assisting customer service agents. You're not really answering questions, but you're assisting somebody. Transaction alert monitoring. So when transaction alert comes, how do you monitor it? Today, there's an army of humans sitting 24/7 trying to monitor the transaction alerts. Can an AI agent do that for us? That's one broad set of use cases. The other one, which is very well understood, is engineering. So, software development, software testing, all of that is the other bucket where there's a lot of things that are happening, and most of the investments globally is going there. The third bucket of use cases is actually customer experience. So for example, Rufus is a very good example of customer experience where you get a very different kind of customer experience. You don't feel like you're talking to a bot, you actually feel like you're talking to a human. So that's a customer experience. Also, a lot of work is happening on things like trip booking, all of that. That comes under customer experience. And the last one is, which you alluded to, is on augmenting enterprise intelligence, which is figuring out answers to questions which would have taken an army of analysts to answer. You can actually answer it yourself. So broadly, these are the 4 areas where investments are happening on fintech, and everybody's running POCs. Some people are running things in production. We run 2 or 3 things in production, and I do think there is a 10x efficiency that you can get out of the process.
You do run the operations as well, right, from the card point of view and other banks.
Yeah.
So anything on that side you are planning in long run?
Yeah. So one of the things which is running in production is actually transaction alert monitoring. So what happens is most banks have a 24/7 transaction alert monitoring process. So your FRM system throws an alert at you, and then there is a human analyst who looks at the alert, analyzes the transaction pattern, looks at the customer's past transactions, the merchant, maybe calls up the customer and then makes a decision. That process typically takes 10 minutes to complete for every customer. So it's a fairly expensive process. What we did was we put an AI agent in front of the human. The AI agent does everything that the human is doing, and then finally throws a result which the human validates whether the transaction is actually fraudulent or not. The time went down from 10 minutes to 30 seconds. So the same as the transaction volumes are increasing, we don't have to hire more people to do it. The other interesting area where we are seeing very decent results is actually collections. Nobody talks about it, but that's one area where we saw some very interesting insights. See, what happens is when a customer calls you for customer service, he wants to speak to a human, right?
Yeah.
Usually you don't want, you say, hey, I've called you, I want to speak to a human here. But when a defaulted customer calls you, he does not want to speak to a human. He wants to speak to a bot. So there we saw a very good uptake when we deployed a bot, because we saw actually people coming and speaking and talking about their problems on why I'm not able to pay. So that's something, these are the 2 use cases we have running in production right now, on the agentic side.
Good. Thanks, Rupesh. So Usha, I think automation is deeply rooted in Google Pay, right? So it's like there is a saying in Hindi, कि सूरज को दिया दिखाने वाली बात, right? So there is no point in talking about automation at Google, right? So SRE framework came from Google. You guys are already doing fantastic job. So from that point of view, right, the expertise on the SRE side, automation and AI, What are the gaps you think Agentic AI can fill in the risk compliance and the ops side while you handle the entire engineering? So I think you have the entire overview of how the engineering pains looks like. So risk, compliance, and ops, I think these are the key areas where Agentic AI can help a lot.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think automation has been done across the industry in different areas. We have also been using a lot of advanced AI models for fraud management for a while, where the agentic part kind of comes in the next frontier. The way I see it is kind of elevating the capability and the level to a next level of autonomy and intelligence. Now, what we are seeing right now is we are moving from an era where we tell the automation on what to do rather than kind of getting into a stage where it can actually manage complex multi-step workflows. I think that is where I see like a paradigm shift that agentic capabilities can bring in. Few examples that I can think about, I think since you spoke about operations, operational resilience, for high transaction data that we kind of really look at, operational resilience is paramount. So to manage operational resilience is extremely hard. And the way agentic AIs can kind of help is anomaly detection is not new in the industry. And we kind of know how to detect an issue. Now we are trying to move the next step where we say now we know how to detect, what can be done about that issue. Now think about an on-call engineer who kind of looks at some of these issues. If the agent can do a preliminary analysis, do the bug triaging, fetch the logs, do also understand where these issues are coming from. And also for some of the issues, if they're able to go ahead and even fix it. So that reduces the entire on-call operation cost drastically. So I totally see that in the agentic world, the productivity is something that will definitely go up quite a bit in doing a lot of this multi-step areas. The second area that I see is definitely in static, from moving from static checks to dynamic checks. Think about this eKYC is some area. Now the way we think about eKYC is not a one-time onboarding event. This is something that has to happen more consistently, regularly. And for doing that, if there are agents which can help in understanding what are some of the regulatory changes which are, say, coming in the eKYC area, if it can automatically incorporate those, or doing risk profiling of customers when they are making a transaction right now, how can they do dynamic risk profiling? So these are some areas that can help in the KYC part of it. The third one is actually compliance, as you spoke about. I think right now there is a lot of cognitive overload in kind of managing. It's a necessary regulation, we have to manage it, but because it is a highly manual and multi-step workflow today. Now even some things like a bunch of circulars coming in, if we think about somebody does a preliminary analysis, maps the interdependencies, also looks at impact on the product, and just clears out like what the product and engineering team has to work, I think it takes away a lot of that cognitive load from people. So these are some of the areas that we see. In the customer areas, we are also looking at, we're trying to do a little bit of experiment around customer insights, trying to bring more trends and things like that. And I think a bunch of people spoke about customer agents, which we already have, and we're trying to see how it can just not be educational, but also kind of go to the next step and helping out people actually resolve some of the issues better. I think these are some of the areas that we're looking at.
There is one sensitive area I'm not sure if I should talk about. One is when you talk about automation, everything, this job loss, right? So how do you see that?
Maybe a big question for me to answer, to be honest. I don't think I am the right person to answer all that. But I think this is my personal opinion. What I've seen, I think the last few, maybe multiple years, decades of, whenever there has been a revolution or new changes, I think more jobs have been created than lost, to be honest. I think when industrial revolution or whatever has come in, I think it has to be changed. The skills have to change.
Right.
Now we are talking about agent-to-agent communication. And some people have to understand, like we have been exploring a lot around, I think, MCP servers and other things that I think you were talking about as well. Nobody knows. And we have to have, like I had like a bunch of team members who are trying to figure this out. It can't happen on its own. But I think the challenge, why I think this is so prevalent about job losses and other things, people don't understand it. And it feels that it is moving at a much faster speed than maybe some of the revolutions that happened in the past.
And these are enablers, basically.
These are enablers.
MCP is something I think it will also take, years to mature, right? And I think everyone has started working on the MCP side as well. So
correct. So I think how to do things will keep changing. I think right now There are more open protocols which are coming in, like Google also partnered recently launching AP2 protocol, which is more of an open protocol about for payments. I think some of these things, standards and other things will keep evolving and things will change. So my view is that it is going to completely maybe do much faster. People have to reskill than maybe in the past.
Right. Thanks, Usha. So Deepak, coming back to you. You wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add that question. I think, see, one of the important opportunity that we are seeing where Agentic AI is applied is largely on the risk side. Because if you see in the reality, right, the risk is always understaffed, underserved, and undercovered. And if you look into the pure banking, right, overall banks at an average per year, they pay around 240 to 250 billion dollars as a fine.
Right.
It is just because they don't have
Even the
ability to really
insurance as
cover.
well, right? So
Exactly.
data insurance. And
So and in reality, where we are able to apply the opportunity, for example, we are working with one of the largest financial services company in UK. The problem we are solving for them is they are a face-to-face advice company, and lot of their wealth managers are retiring, and they are not really they don't have enough people to really bring in. What we are trying to do is we are taking the agentic AI to really reduce the gap in the knowledge between the most successful wealth advisor and the others. So how we are helping them is basically how we can help them to unify the knowledge, connect the intelligence, and provide a contextual experiences to each wealth advisor so that they can serve their customers better. So in reality, in the risk and other things, wherever it's being applied is number of people are getting retired, the knowledge is not widely spread, how we are filling the gaps.
So adding to that, next questions to you, Deepak. So you deal with the large enterprise regulators and all that. So from your point of view, how does this architecture looks like whether it's like the orchestrator of agents or it's like multiple agents sitting with some advanced skill set, and then you remediate?
I think like we were into the AI products for the last 8 years, and then we have evolved with the technology over the period of a time. And what is that we learned is a scale cannot be afterthought. Explainability and anything that the regulator looks for cannot be an afterthought, and how you can actually embed that as part of the end-to-end journey. When we say an end-to-end journey, what does that means? Who are the personas? Because what the regulator also looks is, okay, what does that mean from a business, technology, operations persona, and how you are actually embedded the whole explainability, traceability, and the whole audit trail in an immutable manner so that people are not kind of this thing. What does it mean for a build time? What does it mean for a run time? Because most of the people think about, okay, I'm building it now, okay, I have to take care of all of this in place. But people underestimate what it takes actually to have that observability in place in a run time. And so that each and every reasoning in each and every decision that agent takes, how that is translated into simple language that the business can interpret that and make a decision, and what kind of a controls that we need to put in place. So what we are working is we are kind of put in all these particular guardrails and guide rails in place, embedded during the build time as well as the run time, so that it's not an afterthought for the business to really think about how I prove it to the regulator. And also what kind of a controls and what kind of a thresholds that you have and what kind of an evals that you are producing to really prove it, so that you can switch off whenever it's required, or you can delegate it when there is something in a doubt kind of a thing. And also the what kind of a decisions and all, because the risk levels are extremely important
when the human intervention
when the human intervention, and all of this, unless it is proven during the build time, we don't even allow the people to take it to the production. And this is what we have done in the UK.
Same thing Usha was also talking about, even to put a single line of code, right?
Correct.
It takes a lot of audits and reviews within Google as well.
Correct. Right, so and see, this is where at least what we had is how we can take it as a more of a platform approach, so that it is scalable, repeatable, so that things can be standardized, optimized and all, because that's where it will become very important. You can be successful in one, but you'll stuck with one or two and you can't really scale it.
Good. Thanks, Deepak. So Neha, while you spoke about some of the use cases, but if any one big use case you have to talk about from the Amazon Pay point of view, because you handle the business side, right, where the customer angle comes, right, we were talking about risk, compliance and ops, right, from the customer angle, right, which is the best use case you can think of from the agentic AI point of view?
I think two, three comes to my mind. I think, so one, I think we spoke about earlier as well, but I'll kind of repeat it. I think for Amazon, say for example, globally refunds and where is my money is like really the top use case, like when customers, because obviously like when things go wrong, how do you kind of really proactively solve it is the best way to build trust with customers. And I think that's one of the areas that I think we are very optimistic about. Of course, I think like we are, because it's also a problem that is an ecosystem problem, because the money movement is across not only within the control of Amazon, but in the ecosystem. So
Right.
how does agentic AI really help give a very real-time, near real-time answer to the customer, rather proactive than being reactive, I think is a very big aspect. I think right now, with some of our experimentations around Rufus, I think this is one of the top areas that we are trying to kind of figure out. And we are very early stage. I think right now, it's just kind of how to get them to be, how to respond reactively is where I think we have made progress and strides, but how to make it proactive is one big area. I think KYC, I think Usha talked about, I think in the India context, I feel like KYC and specifically I think how technology can play a lead role in identifying the risk profiles and identifying what limits, who to give the right instrument to, I think is another aspect that I feel. We are doing a lot of experiments internally in terms of how to kind of use AI to really kind of improve on that. Truly know your customer, not only know it, what is described as per the regulations, but how to really know the customer so that you can design the right product for the customer. I think those are the two areas that we are kind of working on, the like customer facing. I think there's a third area that we are working on around our gift cards product, not like really like it's a big franchise for Amazon, but I think like one of the big concern or the customer pain point is a personalized gifting
Personalization.
solution. And I think AI and agentic AI allows us to kind of really innovate on that dimension quite a lot.
Gift cards with pictures?
Sorry?
Gift cards with pictures or?
Why only that? I think gift cards to really recommend what you think the end user would like to buy, because it's a close friend or a family, so you know what they like and as preferences. Today is a very impersonal experience.
Or giving access to their wish list?
Why not? I think some of those things, and with
Right.
agentic AI, maybe buy that for them, and like really transform that experience. So those are the three areas that I think we are putting our energies around right now.
Sure.
So
Thanks,
customer
Neha.
facing.
So Rupesh, while you spoke about the collection part, so I would like to again double click on the fraud side, which you spoke about, right? So any big use case which you think or you are already doing in terms of agentic AI, maybe compliance or resiliency, or from the collection or the fraud point of view?
So collections, like I said, is a very interesting use case because it's very hard to get to the customer. The customer does not want to speak to you. The main thing is to get the customer on the table and
Why do you say that?
You owe money. So that time customers don't pick up calls. And the way the ecosystem has developed over the years is that they are used to being called by field agents, used to getting abused, so people don't want to talk, right? What you want here is you want somebody to talk with empathy, but still has to be firm, because the customer does owe money to a financial institution. So if you have a very well-trained bot, that bot can do that for you and at scale. And you can train it to behave in a certain way. Like if the customer starts abusing a collection agent, the agent loses it, right? But if you train a bot properly, the bot is a very good means to engage with the customer. And you give all the other thing is, on collections, the customer has stopped transacting with you 6 months before, right? So you don't really have any transaction history with the customer. What you have is the calls, the chat, transcripts, which a AI agent is very capable of extracting meaning out of. So I am a very big believer that this is going to change the collection practices in the country, and we will see meaningful deployment of AI in collections.
Okay. Thanks, Rupesh. So Usha, I think you spoke about the resiliency part and some of the fraud angle, right? So, and most of the FRM systems today, right, be it bank or anywhere else, right, they're slightly reactive, right? You react when the fraud has already happened, right? So from the agentic AI point of view, right, the prediction and all those things, right, how do you get, based on the trend of particular user or even the fraudster, right, how it can change the game in terms of agentic AI from the fraud and detection point of view?
I think the risk area is definitely one of the biggest thing that we have, like a lot of investment, and there is a lot of scope also to kind of for that to improve. Today, I think the advanced risk modeling can already kind of has some agentic capabilities already. It just doesn't detect the issue, but it also kind of like blocks the transactions. It also goes ahead and warns the user. So there are a lot of things that the agent is all in some form, even before in the previous models, it has been doing some of those. We recently launched a agentic framework called CASE, which is conversational agent for scam elucidation. So here what happens is the victims are actually interviewed instead of the victim just going ahead and sharing a static fraud report, they go ahead and actually they are interviewed by the agent. And the idea is to basically elicit more details end to end on how the scam happened. And this is used by another AI system to kind of understand the scam areas and how it can be improved. After this launch, we saw almost like 20-21% improvement in actually scam enforcement itself. So these are some of the areas that I see that, you know, it will definitely have a big impact.
Sure. Thank you. I think she has already given me the time is up, but we'll still have some questions. Yeah, certainly, yes.
You have a question now? Okay.
So right now what we do is for automation, there's a lot of API integration and everything that happens. I wanted to understand with agentic AI, how is it different? And the second is, as ma'am said, that right now we need upskilling in agentic AI. So how do you upskill? Because I don't see, you know, people talk about AI and chat GPT and all a lot on YouTube and other videos that you see, but not really a lot on agentic AI. So how do you upskill yourself to understand it better?
I can take a stab at it, the first question at least. I think, see, when you're saying automation itself, usually the idea has been you know what to automate and you're going ahead and automating. Here now it is more goal-based input, right? I think about like maybe a very broad customer use case itself, saying that I want to make a down payment, say in say a year. Previously, you might say that, you know, just cut my spends by, you know, to maximum not cross 50,000 per month or 1 lakh per month. Now you can say that, you know, to the agent saying that I want to actually do a down payment of so much, figure out different ways. Now you're not actually telling what to automate. The agent is itself figuring out what are the different transformations there. Like maybe it might be like reducing your credit card spends or investing better or whatever it is. Same thing on the operation side also, right? You are basically saying that I know that there is a bug which has happened, there's a production outage. How do I go and fix it? It figures out the logs, it tells you the playbooks which has happened. It also tries to fix some of those things. So it's more in that context that it is able to take actions which an automation agent in the past was more told by the humans to take. No, we still need coding. You still need coding. It's a different kind of maybe integrations that you'll be doing. So previously, if it was, say, API-based integrations, now maybe MCP. So the how-to will change. And it is still getting evolved. So I think people are still figuring out how are the different things to do. So in terms of training, I think maybe others can add as well. So there are a lot of courses. I think it is maybe it is like information overload, I would say. It is not less number of courses. But I think if you can look at maybe the idea is what I have been trying to do. I have attended a lot of courses to try to understand as well. Where I start is I try to understand like one area. Like if I take a use case, I try to understand how this can be done and then start looking. Maybe prompt engineering is like the first way to figure out how it is happening. Rather than going to the bottommost thing on how things are done. Like maybe look at RAG and see that how the evaluation happens. Maybe that itself is, so if you understand the end-to-end use case, what you're trying to solve, you will not get lost in the details. Otherwise, the biggest problem that I see right now, even when I go and read, is that I get lost. Oh, I'm getting too deep into, say, the RAG modeling itself, different types of RAG modeling and things, but then I lose the control of, oh, what did I actually try to solve? So,
All right,
Yeah.
in the interest of time, we may not be able to take any more questions. We request you to take the questions
Yes,
offline,
just one,
please.
we can take one.
Okay, sure.
Yes,
So
just
one question there. Can we please have the mic there?
Yeah, this is the mic. Hello, ma'am. My name is Sudhir from Chargeback Zero. Would like to understand there's been a lot of apprehension in terms of open models, LLMs being deployed on premise, right? How do you see it? Right? And there are also certain models like Llama, right? They prefer. Wanted to get some feedback with security.
So maybe I can take this up. So see, it's again depends on the organization strategy, right? So whether you want to use the public models or you want to have everything on-prem where the data sharing, how your risk and compliance, your InfoSec allows, right? Maybe the non-critical applications or something which you feel can be exposed to the outside world, or even the data sharing is okay for you, you can go ahead with all the public models which are available. Otherwise, you can very well go ahead with the open source versions of Code Llama and have them still in the on-prem and start using it. So like, for example, at NPCI, we don't expose anything outside, right? So we use our on-prem models, right? So even the developers have their own the ways of internally generating codes and using the documentation. You keep all the documentation at one place. You can start using NLP and start getting the queries response like the agents, right? So that's how you go for it. But again, depends on the criticality of the organization and the data sharing policies.
So I think, the way it's going to, at least that's how we do it, and I think that's how it's going to evolve. See, models are getting better at much faster rates. So when you're building a use case, it's best to build with the best-in-class model, because otherwise you're missing out on what the model can do for you. And then once you have your use case completely nailed down, it's possible to then experiment with a smaller model and figure out if it still works as well as it does for a. But if I were you, I will always start with a large model, state of the art, and then go down from there and see if I've nailed the use case, can I do a smaller one.
Right, well, thank you so much for that. Big round of applause, please, for all our panelists. And we have a group photograph, please. I request the panelists to kindly step forward for a group photograph.